4th down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Reese under pressure, throws it, incomplete. The Buckeyes win. Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making the judgments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Sword, knocked it out, and picks it up. Jack Sword coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards. Here they come. Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. It's Smith. He's got it. Jeremiah Smith. The 2025 college football national champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. What's up, Buckeye backers? Thanks for joining us for another show. The morning after, we got a little confused, I'll be honest with you, with the time change. So we had to change some things up a little bit. Seattle Matt's on the West Coast in a brand new office, so he has some things to do to get everything together, and his internet is just getting up. So testing it out today, right? Here we go.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. We got a couple people already in the locker room. So before we get to the show, give a shout out to Thomas Higgins is in here, ready to roll. And then, as always, Steely Matt, man, he gets on here, he posts everything for us. Definitely a supporter of our content. So thanks a lot, Steely Matt. Appreciate you. And Thomas, thanks for being here bright and early. Good morning. Happy Sunday. God bless everyone. And wow, is it great to be a Buckeye? Got to get into it right off the start. You know, there were storylines for days about this game. Storylines for days. We talked about it in the pregame show, but Jim Knowles comes in, takes his whooping, and leaves. How do you think it feels to be Jim Knowles right now?
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah, exactly. Buyer's remorse may be the best way to describe it. I don't think that there's anything else to say. I mean, you come in and your defense is like, it gave up 38 points, right? And you're 0-5 in the Big Ten. 0-5 in the Big Ten. Wow, that's pretty impressive for Penn State to be that bad.
Let's pile on. Penn State has not beaten a team in the Power 4 conferences this year. It's November 2nd. They do not have a win against a Power 4 team.
And that's insane because they have talent. It's just they can't put it together offensively. They're, you know, the quarterback position has been a problem for them. And if anyone deserved to get fired, it's the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. I don't know why James Franklin's gone, but, you know, that's another story for another day. Let's talk about Ohio State first half. Penn State, you got to give it to them, man. You got to give it to Penn State. They played a solid first half. I mean, down 3 points at halftime. I'll give it to you a little bit. You know, it was a give me touchdown by CJ Donaldson, just kind of set them up and gave them momentum going into the half. Which, like, what's your take on that? Like, should CJ Donaldson be in the game right there where they're looking to go up and double scores? You know, they want to score right before half and they want to score right after half to just put this game away. Is Day throwing CJ Donaldson a bone? Like, show us what you got, man. We're going to give you some more carries. Or is this one of those load management deals that kind of backfired?
I think that's a great point you brought up about load management, because that was the thought that went through my head early on. Was we saw the running back rotation that we wanted to see early on in this game. You saw Bo Jackson starting. You saw the second running back come in, be Isaiah West. And now you're starting to establish this pecking order in the running back depth chart, which is pretty much what we want to see. I was very frustrated by that fumble because it was 17-7 at that point.
Correct.
And you had a chance to double dip going, score at the second half and obliterate them. And quite honestly, you go up 20-7 or 24-7 at halftime and you have virtually eliminated the game. That fumble was incredibly costly. It gave them 7 points. What really irritated me is the third quarter, and I can't recall if it was the first or second touchdown in the third quarter, but when they were down at the 1 yard line, they took out Jackson and they put in Donaldson. And to me, you absolutely do not reward a running back when he had such a costly fumble. There was no reason to make that switch to Donaldson when it was 2nd and goal at the 1, and you did. And you gave the guy a touchdown when, honestly, he put your team in a tough spot. Instead of being up 13 or 17, you're now up 3 at halftime. So I'm really curious what the coaching staff is seeing in Donaldson, why he's getting these kind of reps still. You're seeing Peoples basically become non-existent. So why is Donaldson not only getting reps, but he's getting a 2nd and goal at the 1, which at that point you kind of figure is going to be a touchdown. I would have rather seen West in there. Give the kid a touchdown.
Here's my take on that. And there's a couple things. I'm going to play devil's advocate after I go into why I think this is just an absolute farce. Like, it almost seems like they set up Bo Jackson to fail in goal line circumstances. They give him the ball. He makes a couple yards, and I think it was up the middle towards the left side. The second play, they give him the ball right on the weak side of the offensive line, right up the right guard alley, and he doesn't get many yards. And then they put CJ Donaldson in, give it to him on the left-hand side, which is right where their bread and butter is, right off tackle. Austin Arvell is a guy who's going to make a block. He made a good cut because the guard got blown up a little bit on that play and knocked back. CJ Donaldson made a great cut. He kind of stepped back and got up into the hole, which is honestly one of the things that I'm like, yo, dude, you're not making the vision cuts that you need to. And so I was proud of CJ Donaldson for doing that and getting it in. But the other fact of this is you're talking about James Peoples being non-existent. I saw him get a few carries. I think it was 4 carries for 14 yards or something along those lines. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry. So that's not bad. And he was fighting for those yards. So I give him a little bit of credit. It was fun to see him in the second half. But damn, man, get Bo Jackson some touchdowns, man. He deserves it. He's the workhorse of this team. He's bringing it down. He had over 100 yards. What do you have, 103 yards? Something like that, I think, on the day.
105.
105. And he's the running game, right? He is the running game. And you're right, West, I would like to see him down there too. Let these guys get their touches in the end zone. I know they don't want to get them banged up, but they did limit their carries. They didn't have a lot of carries. What did Bo with?
13 for Bo, 4 for People, 7 Donaldson. West had 4. So nothing extreme.
Yeah. So, I mean, the load management's there. You don't need to restrict them that much more, right? If he was in there for another play on the goal line and scored a touchdown, you got 14 carries on the day. That's perfect for load management. Keeping them fresh.
If I'm in that locker room, I'll tell you flat out, that was an extremely costly turnover.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, we talked about this multiple times about this is a Penn State team with a lot of talent. There are NFL draft picks on that roster. It's still a talented team. This was one of those games where we needed to put them away early to really just eliminate the game. Now, it ended up being a blowout by and large against a good team. But if I'm in that locker room, I'm really upset with that Donaldson fumble. And I know I saw a comment in here about forward progress, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It didn't get called. The whistle didn't get blown. It was a fumble, and you allowed Penn State back in that game. And I was really nervous with that because this is a team with talent, and you've got emotion now, and you got a kid that grew up 20 minutes away that's thinking, hey, it's a 3-point game in the shoe at halftime. We couldn't have asked for a better situation. So there were multiple chances in that first half. You're up 7-0, you're driving. You don't get that second touchdown, you settle for a field goal, which is fine. We've talked about how we like field goals. But then this is another example of costly turnover, put this team right back in the game, and then you turn around in the third quarter and you have 3 other running backs you could very easily put in to score from 1 yard out, and you choose Donaldson. I don't like that. I think that was a bad coaching move.
I don't like that either, but you got to give Day a little bit of credit because I think he cares about the players, and sometimes to his detriment, he cares about how well these guys are doing, both mentally, physically, and as people. So I think that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's good for the locker room in some circumstances. A circumstance like this, it may be a little bit of a bad thing. You know, he's a father figure, I think, to all these guys, and maybe some more than others. And for some reason, CJ Donaldson has, pulled on the heartstrings of either Day or Lachlan or someone, or he's just dominating in practice. I don't know, but he is definitely getting the lion's share of the carries, especially around the goal line. Someone wants him to score touchdowns. I don't know why. I think my best guess is they just want to save Bo Jackson for the end of the year and keep the pounding from happening during the season. They want him to shine in the playoffs when they need him the most, or the Big Ten championship game. This was, in a way, it was a matchup game, right? Because if you look at the offensive line stats, it's pretty discouraging what happened with this offensive line. I mean, just checking from Brian Buckeye's stats, he kind of fed us this on his Twitter. They didn't grade well at all. 66.8 for PFF was the best offensive lineman, Austin Sareveld, and everyone else was in the 60s, down to Luke Montgomery and Carson Hinsman, which PFF isn't an end-all be-all. It's just a tool to kind of see where they're grading them for every snap. But the difference is, this is a team that does have a defensive line. They do have the players to match up, at least in the interior of the offensive and defensive lines, to give us a test of what we're going to see, really what games are going to be like when we face, the Indianas, the Alabamas of the world, some of those better teams that are, Ole Miss. It's weird to say who Indiana, you're throwing that name up there with Alabama and Georgia and some of the better teams, and BYU has got to be mentioned up there too. Wow. This season's weird, man.
It most certainly is. And with Miami going down, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of new names, I think.
Yeah. Miami was the September national title champion, right? They looked the best in September. Well, guess what? They're Miami again.
But we talked about that.
Yeah.
When we were all screaming in late September, early October about things not clicking and the offense not looking right, we didn't care, because that's not the time when you want to be clicking. You want to start your ascension really right now. You want to start clicking. And the teams that are number one in the power rankings October 1st, doesn't matter.
And the players need to start clicking right now. The teams need to start clicking right now. It's November. November football has been historical for this is when you need your team to start to shine. And it's the hardest time of the season. As you see, 3 of the top 10 teams lost this weekend. Sage, thanks for pointing that out. Absolutely. This is the time when it matters the most, when teams start to struggle and when you start to see a lot of these upsets. Why? Because they're in the meat of their schedule. They're playing good team after good team after good team. So one little slip up, boom, someone's got you. And it's usually teams you've faced in the past. So they know your styles. They know your scheme. They've scouted your players before. Really, this is when it matters most. And you wanted to point out something about the schedule and how it's going to turn out later in the season. Like what game matters left on Ohio State's schedule?
Yeah, this is where I probably have a little bit of egg on my face, but the way it's playing out, you have 6 teams in the Big Ten with 0 or 1 losses. Indiana, Ohio State being the only ones without 1. You look at the other 4 teams, Michigan, Oregon, Iowa, USC. Those combinations of Oregon, Iowa, USC all play each other down the stretch. So that's going to take care of itself by and large. Mm-hmm. What you're setting up for is the Ohio State-Michigan game being a play-in game to the Big Ten championship again. And we talked about how we've seen that game maybe lose its luster and meaning a little bit.
Not so fast.
And I'm not saying again, right? God forbid we go up to Ann Arbor and it doesn't go the way we want it to. We're absolutely still in the playoff. We're absolutely still looking at the national title, which is the number one only goal we should be focused in on. But I think us as Buckeye fans would like to get back to a Big Ten championship, and we'd like it. It's a nice to have. I think it'd be even worse to lose again in Ann Arbor and see Michigan go to another Big Ten championship game.
Absolutely. That would be unbelievable. And I don't know that it really matters in the grand scheme of things much.
It doesn't.
Guess what? If Ohio State did lose, they don't go to the Big Ten championship game. I hate saying this, but it might be beneficial for the playoffs. Because then you don't face that Indiana team that you don't want to lose to in the Big Ten championship game, but facing a team twice, it's always better to win the second time around, right?
I mean, there's a world we talked about where, let's say you lose in Ann Arbor, you do not go to the Big Ten championship game, and you're still ranked 4th.
Yeah.
Where you basically have 2 less games than maybe you thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say one less game, one way or the other. You were either going to get a bye or something. So it's certainly not the end of the world. It doesn't derail you from the ultimate goal of the season, which is national championship or bust. It's a nice to have.
Doug Shepard, that's funny you mentioned that because the AP poll is garbage. It absolutely is. And Brian Buckeye Stats and myself are trying to put together a model to be a better predictor of success than the AP poll because we think it's garbage too. I mean, it's obviously the SEC bias is pretty strong in that. You know, who's the worldwide leader in sports right now? ESPN. Fox is, kind of climbing up. They're getting into the market. But by and large, ESPN, whatever narrative they want to shove is what people are going to read, what they're going to digest. And the problem is all these SEC schools are getting artificially ranked in the preseason, and it lasts through it's lasting now. I mean, we'll wait to see how many they have in the AP poll right now, as of today, but 10 is ridiculous. They had 9 last week. They'll probably still have 9, maybe 8 this week. It depends on if Tennessee's ranked or if they're going to keep Missouri ranked, which are teams that in the Big Ten, they're not going to be ranked. Let's be honest. But, hey, SMU, go Mustangs, baby. I agree with that for sure. That kind of made all of our day.
I think we're going to face the classic dilemma at ESPN because I was listening to the halftime show, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and there was, understandably so, a lot of questions about Ohio State's strength of schedule and quality wins. Well, don't look now, people, but Texas is starting to click.
Yep.
So now you've got this ESPN thing where that they want to bash Ohio State because that gets clicks, that gets ratings, right? It's business, it's not personal. People get over it. But you keep bashing that Texas win. Well, they just beat Vandy. Next week they played Georgia. They finished with Texas A&M. If Texas runs the table, that win looks pretty darn good. Even if they just lose one of those, I mean, they win another one, that win looks really good in the grand scheme of things. So how are they going to rate that win now that Texas is improving?
Yeah, for sure. Before we get any further, I got to get a little bit of stop in the locker room because Mika's in here saying hi. Go Bucks. Mika, call out your show because the ladies of college football, the voices of college football, I can't remember the exact name. Tell me it again. I watch it and I get bits and pieces of it. It's Thursday night, if I remember correctly, and I need to sit down and watch the whole show this week because
let her tell us the details. We'll read them.
You ladies are killing it.
We'll shout it out.
What I've seen, it's been awesome. You need a couple of short clips on there though, because I need to see those highlights. Great job though. Almost a brand new podcast. So I think it started maybe this year. Anyway, give us a little bit of your details because I know you're in it with recruiting too. And By the way, recruiting, I'll give a little bit of shout out to Cody Croy, who's also in the locker room. He's setting up someone very special to be on the show next Wednesday. It's going to be a pretty favorable recruit from Ohio State. So join the show on Wednesday for sure. Cody Croy set that up, and he did an amazing job. All right. So let's get back to the game a little bit before we get in here. Actually, you know what? I'm going with Cody Croy. Michigan shouldn't be a problem if we play to our strengths. We saw those strengths. That sets up nicely. That third quarter, we saw what the strengths are. I mean, you came out firing with Julian Sayin in the first quarter, and I think he had 107 yards and 1 touchdown. And he was like 7 of 8. If I remember correctly, that was his first half stat line. But finishes the game 20 of 23 for 316 yards and 4 touchdowns, which was 87%. And that's all off memory, so that might not be entirely accurate, but I think that's what it was.
Spot on. You're spot on.
So,
yep.
Sayin is top in the QBR rating, top for the season. Let me see if I can pull that up. That's the best of all time. He's also on that list. But let me see what he is this year.
That's still all time.
I'm pulling up the wrong one here. I think I got 2 of the all-time, maybe. All-time best. Well, hey, anyway, he's one of the all-time best. He's number 19. And as of yesterday, he was 20 at the end of the game. All-time best. This guy's only 8 into his starts. You know, he's only had 8 starts. And his QBR is one of the all-time best. That should not be a thing, man. That should absolutely not be a thing. Absolute stud. Julian's saying he's got to be up for the Heisman, right? Got to be.
You're seeing him right now. Betting odds, he is the favorite at this time in several sports books to win. But I think we need to dissect a little bit more about the completion percentage, because this can be misconstrued in college football quite a bit, where high completion percentage is always about slip screens, bubble screens, check downs, all those things. And that can get lost in translation. When you're truly watching Sayin, it's not about check downs. It's about making the right read. When he's hitting that tight end drag or the tight end slip out or something along those lines, and it looks like an 8-yard play, or it is an 8-yard play, I should say, that's not because he's checking down. It's because that's the open receiver. And so he is looking through his progression, making the right read, throwing the ball to an open player who is making the catch, and they're moving the ball down the field. It's not checking the ball down. It's making the right read. And so that needs to be differentiated out from the quarterbacks that you see in a lot of other places who are just doing bubble screens and things of that nature, high completion percentage, but they're easy throws and they're calculated. This is a full progression that he is looking through, finding whoever is open, getting the ball to him perfectly. And so it's a little bit different in that sense, that his completion percentage is because of reading the field and putting the ball in the right place, as opposed to a lot of simple throws.
And if you look on the College Football Nerds, kind of did a breakdown, and they were questioning Sayin for his mid-range intermediate throws, the yardage. Very few attempts in the 20 to 40 yard range. He does well, and his accuracy is great in the 0 to 20 and over 40 yard range. That's just a product of how the defenses are trying to play them. They're giving up the short yardage. They're bringing everyone back, trying to keep everything in front. We've been talking about this all season. That means he's doing good. That absolutely means he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's finding the open receiver, which is the number one thing you do as a quarterback. Take what the defense gives you. Okay, well, take it. It's open. Hit the guy. And then you take the shots when they're open. Right, when they get one-on-one coverage, or when you have a superhuman wide receiver that just gets past 2 guys, take the shot.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. Which one? Speaking of that, which one? We have the 2 best graded wide receivers in the Power 4. All right, and 2 and 3 in all of college football because Tulane's, I can't remember his name now.
Doesn't matter. It's not relevant.
You're right. It doesn't matter. His number 1. So essentially, they're the top 2 receivers in all of college football. All of college football. Ooh, Mika, you're actually right about this. What happened to? Oh my gosh, what happened to the run counter? Like, and all that scheme is completely gone. Are they saving it?
It'll be back.
It'll be back.
It'll be back. Don't worry.
I love that.
Again, you don't play your hand in October. You don't play your hand in really early November. Let's wait to Michigan, and let's see what we start to see in that game and the true progression of the offense at that time.
Sure, because the next few games are going to be much like the beginning of the season. Ohio State's going to be able to play with their food before they eat it. You saw what happened in that third quarter domination by Ohio State. They just exploded. Absolutely exploded. Insane. Wow. That run that he had, dodging everything on third down and getting the first down, that is the play that you want to see every now and then by Sayin. You don't need to see it often, but when they needed it the most, he pulls that out, and it was just like, whoa, he's got moves, man.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that. To me, that is something you do not see out of a freshman quarterback. That is not something you see. That's something you see from Patrick Mahomes. The navigating of that pocket. Again, not running truly backwards, little east to west, and then moving up into the pocket to get away from that pressure. And again, it's not a splashy play. It was 3rd and 5. I think he picked up 8 yards, something along those lines. But he kept the chains moving. He manipulated the pocket. He avoided very good pass rush from Penn State. Again, these are players that could be playing in the NFL, right? This isn't Purdue. This isn't Michigan State. This is still a talented Penn State team.
Correct.
Got out of that pocket, maneuvered in the pocket, actually moved up into the pocket, got 8 yards. That's a headsy play. That's a professional play that he made there, and it's never going to show up really on the stat sheet. But that was such a valuable play that tells me right now we have a really smart quarterback.
Yes, absolutely smart. He's doing the right things. He is moving in the pocket better than anyone I've seen. And we talked about it before, and I posted a video like with it moves like Jagger last week. Created that like a week ago, but we're trying to get it fixed up a little bit and make it presentable. He moves in the pocket better than anyone I've ever seen, ever. The rollouts he had against Wisconsin, when he steps up, it's just perfect timing. And now you see him dodging people like it's dodgeball out there. He's like defenders are throwing themselves at him, but he's like, whoop, whoop, and gets there. If he can continue to do that and work on that along, because he's going to need that run later on when we get defensive line pressure, that's going to be a little bit better and a little bit better as the playoffs come on, as the season continues to grow. At Michigan, they're going to get after him. They're going to find ways to get after him. They always do. But the fact that he's got such precision and can get the ball out fast, if you add running on top of it, it's going to be almost indefensible. We talked about it in the beginning of the season. You have those wide receivers on the outside. What you want in a football team is to have a 3-headed monster. You want a quarterback that's awesome. You want a running back that's awesome. And you want a wide receiver that's awesome. If you have a 4-headed monster with 2 of the best wide receivers in college football, a running back that's starting to turn it on in Bo Jackson, and a quarterback that's up for the Heisman, then what else do you're going to have a 5-headed monster because there's tight ends that can catch the ball down the seam too. And Max Clare had a hell of a blocking game too.
And that's the thing too. When you talk about what we have at Ohio State, yes, it's one of the best rosters in the country, probably the best roster in the country, maybe one of the best rosters assembled in a long time. College football, though, is like any sport, is about emotion. You're throwing me off. What are you grabbing, man?
Oh, someone asked about the ball and who signed it. Just all the living Heismans.
I like that. No, but it goes beyond roster, right? When you start getting into November now you're starting to add the emotional, psychological component to games. And you can dismiss this all you want. It matters, especially in college football. If it didn't matter, it would be the best rosters winning every week, hands down. That's not the case. It's not the case in the NFL either. So what you want to start seeing is when games get tight, when there's pressure, how are we seeing this team perform? And so far early on, we have. Again, Texas, you kind of have to throw that game away a little bit in the sense that it was game one of Sayin, probably a pretty vanilla playbook, but he held his composure together. You go to the Washington game, it's 4 minutes to go in the second quarter. You're down 3-0. Nothing is clicking. You get that team touchdown, you start to win. Same with Penn State. It was 17-14. That game felt very odd at halftime, given that turnover and that score. And you're seeing Sayin in the offense come right back out, first drive of the second half, score a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Why that's all important is you're going to start getting into tight games now. Starting November 29th, every game you play is going to be against a very good team, and it's going to be tight. So how does Sayin and this team respond in those situations where drives aren't going your way, or God forbid you're actually losing a game, which I can't even remember the last time outside of Washington this team was losing at all. So that's the next iteration, and we're really not going to see it until Ann Arbor, is how does this team respond to adversity? Because that's my question when I look at Indiana, to be honest with you. Indiana has not been punched in the mouth. Not really. Oregon, again, is good. I'm telling you right now, I've watched a lot of Oregon football. It's not the same Oregon that we're used to. It's not the team from last year. They're a really good team. I don't think they're an elite team. But I think Indiana gets punched in the mouth. We're going to see if they fold or not. Ohio State needs to – I don't think Ohio State's going to fold. But I think we have to realize, okay, when drives aren't working, or when you're trailing, let's say trailing in the third quarter, which they have not done yet this year, how are they going to respond?
I think Indiana's defense took over as the best scoring defense. And I didn't look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's true. So their defense isn't bad either. And we're going to get punched in the mouth a few times if we end up playing Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. It's going to happen. I mean, Indiana's going to do what Indiana does, and they're going to play well. And maybe it's just a first half keeping it close. This is kind of a game we needed. We needed that adversity a little bit at halftime and needed them to come into the locker room. It sounded like the defense was pissed in the locker room. And guess what they did? They just come out second half and pitch a shutout. You make this team mad, they've shown that they're going to respond. And they responded the right way in the second half against Penn State. It's just that other teams are going to be able to respond back a little bit too once you start getting in the meat of things. This is something they needed. Whether we wanted it or not, that's a different story, but it's something the team needed. There was a little tiny bit of momentum and adversity, and Ohio State was like, I'm taking that back. Not today, my friend. Not today. And they responded well.
No, that's a great point because, again, football's funny. Turnovers happen. Penalties happen. Weather happens, right? And you saw that yesterday where you faced adversity. You should have been up 13, 17 points at halftime, getting the ball, cruising to another straightforward win. Well, that got derailed by a bad turnover and then giving up that 7. You're now up 3, and you've just given all the emotion and momentum back to Penn State. And how does Ohio State respond? 21 unanswered second half points.
Mika, anytime you would like, just hit me up on either Twitter or Facebook or wherever that you can have a DM. I would absolutely love it. That would be great. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, you can hit me up. Just direct message me, and we'll be sure to set something up. Absolutely. I don't know if you're going to get Seattle Matt's shining face. You'll probably have to settle for me. But if you can come on our show, you can talk to Matt too. You would go on her show on Thursday night?
Absolutely.
Right.
I'll have zero social media presence, Mika, but go through
I'll set it up.
Steve,
yeah, you can set it up through my avenue.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, that's a pleasure. Seattle Matt's time is very scarce. So,
well, everyone here, check out their show, please.
They already got one subscriber. Temple of Brutus got in on that.
Well, let's 10x that at least.
For sure. Projections are us playing Georgia Tech, Ole Miss winner for the Rose Bowl. No, that sounds.
Yeah, just so you know, if you're the 1 seed, your first game is the Rose Bowl.
I don't know if I like that or not right now. I guess I don't care.
Let's not put the cart in front of the horse. We have mile markers still, right? And
yeah.
Guess what, everyone? 21-16 Michigan Purdue yesterday. Say what you want, but that's college football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Michigan in the big house should have annihilated Purdue. 21-16. Yep. And I'll be honest, I was watching Oklahoma, Tennessee. I just kind of saw the final score. I thought that game would be over. Mm-hmm. UCLA again, scrappy. Imamaya Ava can play. He's already played at the shoe. Mm-hmm. He played in one of the coolest games there, so he's been there before. Anything can happen. This is where take care of your business, get 11-0, and then in all seriousness, your season really starts November 29th.
And I kind of agree with this. Temple of Brutus, another great comment in here. The Big Ten cannot afford another elite team falling to mediocrity. We only have 3 teams that anyone considers playoff worthy, and that's it. Really, Penn State better fix the house quickly, or someone else has to step it up. You could see a Washington coming in, but that means they have to beat Oregon. You could see a Iowa coming in, and I think their schedule sets up pretty nicely that they could probably make a playoff run. They have Nebraska for sure. Probably have Wisconsin still on their list. I can't remember what. No, they beat Wisconsin already. I can't remember what Iowa has left on their schedule, but I think that they're setting up nicely that they could win out. Who else does it?
I mean, I don't know. I guess the question is what other conference has all these elite teams that I'm not aware of? Because I'll look at the SEC right now. I like Texas A&M. I'm not sold on Marcel Reed. I'll be honest with you. I think if you keep QB contained on him, he's a very athletic quarterback. I'm not convinced he's going to throw the ball all over me if I keep him in the pocket. Bama's playing very well. Bama still has a lot of talent, but let's see it. Let's see it still. Georgia, I think Georgia is a very good defensive team. I question their offense. And right now in college football, if you don't have a strong offense, you're going to probably wilter down the stretch. And you look at a bunch of these other ones in the SEC. So I look at the Big Ten being a little top heavy right now. And to your point, trying to get those 6 teams we talked about in that upper echelon, with the Michigan, Oregon, Iowa, USC. I hope those are all ranked teams as they should be. You could possibly squeak in Washington, still not a strong strength of schedule, but you have number 1 and number 2. And I think Oregon could go toe-to-toe with a lot of teams as well, too. So I'm not overly concerned about any elite team right now or questions about elite team or really about our depth, because I could probably go 8 deep with the Big Ten, and don't let the rankings fool you. The SEC, just a bunch of – you have a lot of really good teams, and then there's about 5 teams that don't scare me, the Tennessees, the Missouris. Nobody is scared about playing those teams.
Temple of Brutus, we are going to do a Monday show and do a release of what our model says should be the top 12, which excludes any type of AP poll ranking. So that is in the process of being set up for tomorrow. And we'll do our typical Wednesday show. I don't really want to do a Tuesday show only because everyone will be doing a Tuesday show, including ESPN. And I'll probably be watching that, digest it a little bit, and kind of give our feedback on where things are and go from there. So I like to take it in, dissect it a little bit, and then spit out some quality analysis on where they have it. Yeah, a release show. I mean, ESPN's going to be your go-to for that unless you have YouTube TV. which is absolute farce. I can't believe I have YouTube TV, so I wasn't able to watch any games unless I went somewhere else last night. Starting to look like Penn State jumped the gun with Franklin firing. I do believe that they did. And you saw what's interesting is I posted from one of our college football backers, guys that was on the field. He took a video of their AD, Pat Kraft, talking to Ryan Day afterwards. I just thought that was funny. And I just kind of captioned it. I was like, are you sure you don't want to have the job? And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'll stay right here at Ohio State where everything's built and ready to roll for championships for years to come.
Anyway. I would disagree with that a little bit. Again, about jumping the gun on Franklin, and I'll take it a step further. I think Nebraska jumped the gun on upping Matt Rule, because what you're looking at, if I'm Penn State, or I'll say LSU as well too, you're trying to establish a standard, and the standard is we are a playoff team every year. We're winning a national championship. And if I'm at Penn State, I'd probably want one every 10 years. Yeah. Because that's the type of program I want to be. That's the level I want to be at. I want to be winning. I'll even say this, 60% of my top 5 games that I play. Meaning if I play against a top 5 team, I want to win at least 3 out of 5. Those are standards. These are things that if you want to be an elite program and you want to have an elite coach, these are the things that you have to strive to. When you look at James Franklin's record in top 10 games, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it was abysmal. That's not a standard at Penn State. Brian Kelly, started off guns blazing and then couldn't win the big game moving forward in the SEC. So I understand those firings. I was watching a Big Ten Network this morning. Nebraska's lost 29 straight games against ranked opponents. And you just gave Matt Rule an extension. What are you doing? What's your standard when you're saying we're going to continue to either ride with somebody or give somebody an extension when you're not even winning against ranked teams, or you're 1-22 against top 10 teams?
Sure.
We talked about this at Ohio State again. Where our level is at is national championships. That's what you're measured by. That's why Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. 6 national titles in 17 years. That is insane. That's why Georgia has 2 national championships in the last 10 years. Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State. There are very few programs that are winning at least 2 national titles every 10 years. That's the standard you got to be at. And if Penn State wants to just be in the ranks of very good, keep Franklin. If you want to be elite, go find somebody who's elite.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, man. That's hard. Because is that next hire going to be someone who is elite? It sounds like all the elite coaches have said thanks, but no thanks so far. So you're going to have to find someone who's done it at a lower level that can escalate things at Penn State later on. You're not going to find someone that's already a coach at a major program. It doesn't sound like, at least.
Here's the thing. Dabo Swinney never had head coaching experience. Kirby Smart never had head coaching experience. Dan Lanning never had head coaching experience. Ryan Day never had head coaching experience. Figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be in the top echelon, you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, don't get – if I'm Penn State, I've heard the rumors like around Brian Kelly. I don't want Brian Kelly. I don't want Matt Rule. I don't want any of these guys. Go find that next great coordinator to be coach, because I just listed off national championship winning coaches, short of Dan Lanning, but he's done a hell of a job at Oregon. 3 of the 4 I listed off never had head coaching experience and have won a national title. So you can do it. The formula is there. Go find it, Penn State.
Why haven't you talked about the defense yet? What is your damage, man?
You know, haven't. I think it's the fallback. It's the move. It's all these things. And maybe we've come a little complacent to their eliteness. And shame on me, because it was unreal. And to be very fair, they really only gave up 7 points. They got put in a tough spot by and large. And that's where I think it's funny where it's now being glossed over. We're 45 minutes into the show, and we're just talking about them, how elite they are, and it's just become commonplace. And I'm glad you brought it back to that because Arvell had himself a game, my friend. Please.
Just go ahead and read his stat line because it was off the hook.
Man, it's an incredible box score. 12 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 TFLs.
Goodness.
Just unreal. And Kenyatta Jackson.
Oh, yeah. That sack he had.
2.5 TFLs, man. I mean, just an incredible game setting the edge and doing everything right.
Did we have 7 sacks on the game?
Yes, we did. 4.
4 sacks. 7 TFLs. All right. 4 sacks, 7 TFLs. That's a stat line for a defense, too. And that reminds me that Caleb Downs targeting. My goodness. Would you have called that targeting?
No, but I am very opposed to the targeting. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it should be a 15-yard penalty. Mm-hmm. And if you do it a second time, I'm okay with the ejection policy. But I absolutely hate the targeting rule in college football. So I naturally lean towards no targeting in any case.
I mean, what kind of play do you have offensively that you get thrown out of the game? You know what I mean? It's like only defenders have that chance of getting thrown out of the game, pretty much.
Listen,
and they do something egregious, which I think was great. But I think that was a targeting call, and I think Caleb Downs knows it was a targeting call. The only thing that saved him, and there's one angle where it looked like he hit the shoulder pad, and that's where the contact made. He switched the angles; it looked like it was right to the head. But there was that back angle, and it was like, oh, he made with the shoulder pad. So, but the fact that it was late, number one, I think that they got the call right, but that could have been called either way, honestly. And I think the Big Ten's doing a better job at this year, not just arbitrarily throwing out targeting penalties and getting people kicked out.
The rule needs to change. Again, I think targeting in college football needs to switch to, if it's targeting 15-yard penalty, right, automatic first time. That's detrimental in a lot of ways already. And then if you get anything close to a second targeting, I'm okay with ejection there. Absolutely. You know? And even put it under the unsportsmanlike conduct category, because if you have 2 of those, you're thrown out of the game too. So I'm okay if you make it that 15-yard penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct, second is an ejection. Like you screwed up once, don't do it again. We're going to penalize you the first time, but we're going to throw you out the second time. This concept of, an offensive player lowers his head and it just happens to align with your height. And now you're talking crown of the helmet. It's ridiculous. I hate it. The only exception is lunging. You don't lunge. Nobody ever teaches lunging and tackling at all. So if you're leaping or lunging or going towards an offensive player like that, I'm a little more inclined to allowing the targeting call. But again, it is most ridiculous rule in college football. You could still get it out of the game by giving harsh penalties, but throwing these kids out of games is stupid.
I agree with that. If the offensive player lowers their head, it should be wiped out completely. There should be no possibility of a targeting call, because that's a split-second thing. There's nothing you can do to save that. And honestly, if it was fair, the offensive player should be called for targeting for lowering their head. Why aren't they?
Yeah.
Why aren't
if
they're
making
a running back? That happens all the time to a running back gets hit in the crown, like in the helmet, nonstop. But that never gets called. Who cares about the running back? If it's a wide receiver or quarterback, that's called.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the defenseless thing. Like, he knows it's coming, but still. I agree with you, though. There needs to be 2 changes to the rule. Number one, offensive player lowers their head, the penalty is wiped out. Can't even be a penalty. And number 2, it should be a 2 strikes and you're out. 100% on board with that. And it would still solve the purpose. Guys aren't going to do it all the time, and if they get that one accident that happens in a split second and they make the wrong decision, guess what? You can still come back and play. And like yesterday, Caleb Downs does a complete turnabout and gets an interception right afterwards. Awesome. Yeah. Way to turn that around, man. And he wouldn't have got that interception in the end zone had he been kicked out of the game. It has to be blatant, right, Sage? I agree. And Chris Walters, thanks for joining us, buddy.
And I think anybody who watches football, you know what blatant looks like. You know when you see Absolutely. It. It's the leaping, the lunging, the truly defensive player just getting his head knocked off. Right? Mm-hmm. We know it when we see it. If you have to start breaking down film and going millisecond by millisecond where helmets connected, it's not a foul. It's not a foul.
And what about that catch? Did you see that catch in the Georgia game? That Florida where they chucked it up. Florida, it looked to me like it was a catch, but called on the field that it was incomplete. Got his hands under it. Looked to me like it bounced off his hands. Made the catch. Florida would have gone up and beat Georgia. But, of course, Georgia, again, in back-to-back weeks, gets saved by the referees. Absolutely saved. You got to look up that play.
I will. But that's, again, when we're talking about what's coming about on Tuesday and all this stuff, you have to look past the records a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you do have to look at how these teams are playing and how they're winning. And right now, go look at Georgia. Nothing about their wins looked that impressive by and large. And they really haven't played.
Tennessee was mid.
Tennessee is not a good football team. Can we stop talking about Tennessee? Yeah. Like they're still going
to be ranked 25.
Oh, they'll be higher than that. They will be. I mean, in Oklahoma again, you just don't know. Whatever Mater, if he gets his hand right, that could be a formidable team. Mm-hmm. I don't really know. They're always going to have pretty good defense there. But you're right. The Tennessees, the Missouris, throw them out. They're not good teams. And again, Georgia, they've got a couple nice wins on their resume, but they haven't actually gone through the teeth of the SEC by and large. I don't think Tennessee's a good team. It'll be interesting to see how they play against Texas. And I was hoping Georgia Tech would be undefeated going into that final game. So it'll be interesting to see. But Georgia doesn't scare me. I think the only team in the SEC that really scares me is Bama.
Oh, this is interesting. Temple or Brutus? Let's compare. Mendoza. Yeah, I don't even think you need to compare this. We'll go through it, but they're going to have their meeting to determine who's Heisman in the Big Ten championship game. And that's why I think decides it, because the Heisman's voted for right after the Big Ten championship game, before the playoff. Yeah. So Sayin is 176 of 218 attempts compared to Mendoza's 162 of 224 attempts. All right. 2,188 yards passing for Sayin and 2,124 for Mendoza. Mendoza has the 72.3 completion percentage, only to be topped by an 80.7 by Sayin. Mendoza also has more interceptions at 4, whereas Sayin has 3. Mendoza has a little bit of a trump card with 4 rushing touchdowns also. Who has best now? I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I give it to Sayin. Mendoza had his game against Oregon, I guess. Where is Saying's Heisman moment? And I believe it's going to be the Big Ten championship game or against Michigan that you're going to see Saying's Heisman moment, actually. It's just interesting. You listen to Ryan Day yesterday being interviewed. He's like, we're not a team of individual awards. We want championships. And I actually think he believes that. If the individual awards come, I think that he actually thinks that, because they do not necessarily promote it. They'll be a little bit like, yeah, you can tag us for a Heisman or whatever on Twitter or X, but they don't really go out of their way to promote it internally. And I think that comes from Ryan Day. I think he wants a team. And what wins championships? Teams. The Heisman will come if the team's going to be up there on the top echelon every year. The Politnikov will come because obviously that catch by Jeremiah Smith was unworldly. Like, I honestly thought like I had a hiccup in my screen when I saw it because I didn't necessarily see the ball tipped, and all of a sudden it was in Jeremiah Smith's hand. I thought there was a glitch on my TV, to be honest with you. I was like, how did that end up in? Did he just score a touchdown? Then you see the replays. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That defense had to be thinking, we just did everything right. Absolutely everything right that you would want to do. And they ended up with a touchdown. Tipped the ball, and his response was amazing. He just didn't want Sayin to get a interception and not grade out a champion. See ball, get ball, man. And I think that was an honest response by Jeremiah Smith too. He's not a guy that like tries to downplay things. He's just going to tell you how it is. Straight shooter. Like, see ball, get ball. I wanted to get it. I wanted to protect my quarterback. Team player, man, all the way. He has to be a team player.
But your point's valid about the team concept and things will come. And, I mean, that's what you're looking at was saying. I don't have it off the top of my head. I bet he was 15th or between 15th and 20th to start the season in Heisman odds. Now he's number one. It's because of the team. Jeremiah Smith should be a no-brainer for the Blitnikoff. But, again, it's the team concept. If Ryan Day wins Big Ten Coach of the Year, team concept. These guys don't care about the individual accolades because Correct. If they're losing in January, then nobody cares about these things.
That's right. And King James, I like that you're in here. I think you're right. Miami is doing Miami things this time of year, but Alabama is the one. And I will agree with you. Alabama is a force to be reckoned with, and they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit, which is scary for an Alabama team, right? But
Alabama absolutely is flying under a radar.
Yeah. And they're just hiding out in those weeds, and eventually they're going to attack, right? They're eventually going to attack. That one loss, beginning of the year, you could throw that out. I mean, that's like the 2014 Ohio State. They had that loss in the beginning of the year to Virginia Tech. I know it wasn't the first game, but then they were just hiding out in the weeds, and all of a sudden when it came time to develop to be the best team in the nation, they were by far. So it's going to be scary to see what Alabama does, particularly with their running game. They have to step up their running game for them to really have a shot. Their passing game's good, but down this stretch run, we're going to see it's November. November football is what matters more than anything.
But we talked about this a month ago with Mario Cristobal. Go look at his record in October and November. It's atrocious at all the programs he's been at. He doesn't win in October and November. That's not a good coach. Being 4-0 in September and being number 2 in the power rankings is meaningless. And that's why we kept telling everybody, pump the brakes on these things, or pump the brakes on your skepticism of the Ohio State offense, because it's not about what you do in September. It's really not about what you do in October. It's about right now, November 2nd, are you starting to progress and elevate all your football team? And you're seeing with Miami, all the talent in the world. They have all the talent in the world. They don't have the coaching staff. They haven't had the coaching staff in 20 years to put it all together down there. Cristobal's not the answer. I mean, if I'm Miami, that's another coach I'd be looking at, to be honest with you, because you have a ton of talent. You have a really good quarterback in Beck, and now you have 2 losses in the ACC, which is not that strong of a conference. Let's be honest.
It's not ideal. Yeah.
No, it's not. But this is why we keep beating the drum on Coach Day and Coach Patricia and Coach Hartline and that coaching staff. We have an elite coaching staff at Ohio State, and you need to recognize that fact, because we're not losing these games. We're not having mental breakdowns on the field. We're continuing to grow and progress, and looking at this as a 5-6 month odyssey where Miami wants to be in the power rankings on September 29th. That's the difference in coaching. That's the difference at Ohio State.
Absolutely. Absolutely the difference. This coaching staff is elite. And that's why the little things, we have to search for things. Search for things like the CJ Donaldson fumble. Search for one play here or there that's making the difference in the game, because everything else is elite, right? And there's going to be plays like that always. Fans are going to find in retrospect hindsight's 2020. They're going to find something that was like, that was dumb. But, in the heat of the moment when you're calling plays split second or when you're sending someone in split second, sounds good at the time, let's go with it. You're going to have hiccups here and there. And especially when times get tougher, when the season drags on, when you're in November football playing teams that know you well, like Penn State.
I want to get to Temple Bruce's comment here because I think it's a good one on multiple facets. He asked if LSU or Oklahoma can beat Bama and daze their confidence. Again, this is that mindset shift in college football nowadays, where even that second loss from Bama, it doesn't derail anything. Look at Ohio State last year. We all point to that Michigan game now and saying, thank God that happened. That was the catalyst to winning a national title. That was the punch in the mouth that Ohio State team needed to look themselves in the mirror and say, how are we going to define ourselves after this loss? Are we going to be losers or are we going to be national champions? We know what path they chose. So I don't think any loss here down the stretch, as long as you make it to the playoffs, I don't see one loss down the stretch from any of the teams we're talking about being a negative. It's about, you just got knocked down to the mat. Are you going to get back up? How are you going to define yourself? You're going to see the true character of a team after a loss down the stretch. And even again with Ohio State, if they lose one of the next 4 games, not a concern. Not a concern, because it's all about how are you going to define yourself after that loss and what are you going to do as a result of that. So it's a different era in college football.
Absolutely. It is completely different. One loss does not matter anymore. And I got to get to this. Doug is in there telling you to preach, brother. Preach. Talk.
Thank you,
Doug Shepard's always with us. We love having Doug in here.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, if you're in here, if you're in the locker room, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the share. It doesn't cost you anything on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything anywhere. Nothing that we do is for profit right now. So go ahead and hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe. Join us anywhere you possibly can on social media. Would it be X? Would it be Facebook? Would it be Instagram? Would it be YouTube? Join us, support our show so we can get things going to that next level, which it's getting close. So thank you all for being in here and joining us. Let's get to King James because, King James is throwing out some good stuff today. Thank you, King James, for joining us. All right. I think if Sayin goes to Michigan, gives them 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, it's his to lose in the Big Ten championship game. Mendoza had 1 TD, 1 interception against Oregon, not it. Sayin has the chance to go be Super Sayin. Absolutely he does. J. Cool. They're calling him J. Cool in the Woody Hayes, so let's keep it up. Super Sayin, J. Cool, great nicknames. Because, dude, he is just – this is unbelievable. 8 games in. The way he dances in the pocket. The way he gets those throws out so quick. The way, 2 of his incompletions out of the 23 attempts that he made, 20 of them were complete. 2 of them were throwaways. He had 1 real incompletion. That was it.
There's lots of facets to this. First off, I do agree that some incredible stat line game against Michigan probably could propel him to the Heisman. However, it's Ann Arbor on November 29th. Could be raining, could be snowing, could be 40-mile-an-hour winds. You have no idea. So to look at that saying, like, we need that game from Julian in order to propel him into the Heisman, could be a weather game. Who knows how that's going to play out. I'd also say the Heisman is a story. It's a narrative. They look at Mendoza versus Sayin. Mendoza's going to the NFL. Mendoza's not going to have a shot at that next year. I know he could stay. He's not going to stay. He'll be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. You look at Sayin and you say, well, he's going to come back next year. And to have an Indiana player with a guy that cannot win the Heisman next year, that's a storyline. And the Heisman loves the storylines. If I had to say right now, I'd probably say Mendoza's going to win the Heisman based on everything I just said. Mm-hmm. However, if Sayin goes and balls out against Michigan, and let's say he balls out against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, he has a real legitimate shot. However, Are we all going to be upset if our running game has 220 yards in each of those games and Sayin has 140, but they win both those games? No. And I don't think Sayin or Day or anybody else is going to be upset by that. So, the Heisman's nice. We all want it. At the end of the day, there's one goal.
Get those W's, baby. Stack them. Stack W's on W's. 8-0. Ohio State's doing their thing. Does Ohio State need help in this situation, Temple of Brutus? I don't think Ohio State controls its own destiny. Whatever they do is what determines it. They don't need any help from the SEC going through a nightmare of a schedule while Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers is what we have left. We still got Michigan on the table. That's going to matter. The narrative is going to be driven from what happens against Michigan and what happens in the Big Ten championship game because the rest of it is already over. It's already history. Texas, will help us, but we're number one. We're not losing that number one status unless we lose a game. Not happening. There's nothing that Indiana can do. They're going to have their time. There's nothing that Texas A&M can do. They're also going to have their time, and we'll play it out in the championship games and in the playoffs. That's all that matters. No one's taken number one away from Ohio State, and if they do, more power to Ohio State, because guess what? Ammunition. That's exactly what we get. Now we get to play from behind this Ryan Day team, the way they're playing, and that's just going to be extra fuel to the fire. It would actually be a good thing for Ohio State, I think.
Nothing would make me happier than Texas A&M or Indiana being ranked number one on Tuesday.
Yes.
Nothing would make me happier. I bet Ryan Day wants it, to be honest with you.
For sure. He's struggling to find that motivation.
I bet he wants to be third. I bet if Ryan Day had a vote right now, he would want to be third. He'd want Indiana and A&M behind him, because I'll tell you what, nothing helps motivate your team better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we pretty much finished the show for everyone. Yep. So thank everyone for being on here. Thank you. Hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe. I will go into college football backers a little bit, so I'll let Matt do his thing. Thank you for joining us, as always, from the West Coast, bright and early.
Yeah, got to figure
next
out
time. Next time you got to get your lighting on, man. I can barely see
I tell you what, man. This is the first time I've ever been in this room, and now the sun's coming out, and y'all can't see me. So.
Well, we'll figure that out as we go.
Yeah.
But thanks again, man. Your analysis is on point, as always. So check Buckeye Backers out on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Subscribe, share the show, like, anything you can do. Smash that like button. It really helps get the show out there to more people. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up anywhere you see us on social media. Really, it's just Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and X. So hit us up. Tell us what you think of the show. We're always here to comment too. I'll be in there commenting if you do. But what you really need to do is get over to College Football Backers. If you like college football at all, we have our podcast on there. I'm going to go ahead and screenshot it for you, or share my screen so you can kind of see what we're doing on our website. All right. Here we go. College Football Backers. This is it, man. All right. We got our recap from the Buckeyes down Penn State with third quarter domination. I wrote that myself. We'll kind of go through it. So it's very clean website. If you look at this, our photos are nice. You're going to be able to see it. It's got a black background. You're going to be able to see some of the Twitter embeds that pop up as you scroll down. So some of the best plays of the game. It's worth it just to go in there for that, to be honest with you. If you can't find some of the good plays, I'm going to have them in there for you. Talk about everything. All right. Check that out. If you want to check out some articles by some other teams, Joe Rutland got the Longhorns. Are they ready to roll? He's going to have kind of a recap of that later on. All right. And any college football team that you want, this is all clean. We got our podcasts up here too. If you want Buckeye backers, if you want Wolverine backers, if you want Bayou Bengal backers, all those shows are great. The Wolverine backers guy was on the field in the press box against Purdue last week. Bayou Bengal backers are growing immensely. We're going to have a new Badger backers coming pretty soon, I do believe. So he had his Wisconsin article out. We also have TJ Chapman I don't see his articles here, but he does follow the group of 5. Talks about a little bit about BYU and how they're coming into prominence. We got a Penn State article by myself and Around the Group of 5 by TJ. You got to check that out because he always is giving a shout out to some of that lower level football who's got a spot in the playoffs. So keep an eye on what's going on there because he's going to be talking about it. It'll be interesting to see who's the highest ranked group of 5 right now. Oh, man, I'm going to love to see that because I guess it's got to be North Texas is making a run for it, man. Navy had their time. So check out what TJ Chapman's got to say on that. Vanderbilt, they had their time and just lost that game to Texas, which is good for Ohio State probably, but it's fun to watch Pavia play down there too. Like I said, Owen Tyler's new. We're probably going to have a Badger backer, and I think we're going to have an Irish backer coming on pretty soon. So it's growing network. Check it out. Love it. Like, subscribe, share, everything. Check out the website. Appreciate y'all for joining us. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Peace out.